What's up YouTube? Jason here, Morph, Mixology, Reptiles. Welcome back to the channel. Got a really cool one for you today. Another DIY project that I've been wanting to work on for quite a while. It's just taken me a bit to get it started, figure out what I was going to do, and it kind of revolved around the upgrades going on in this room. I had to kind of decide what space I had to work in and if I was going to get a bigger unit and so on and so forth. And that is working on the incubator. I actually need to get it up and running and stabilized because I don't know if we're like way ahead schedule or whatever, but check this out. So you guys will know Elsa, our pin potion, and we have bred her the last 3 seasons, obviously this being the 3rd, with zero luck. But I ended up pulling this tub open a couple weeks ago, and she had a massive ovulation. I'll put those pictures up here. So she's obviously ovulating, or ovulated, and will be laying soon. And in fact, that February 8th date that's on the front of that tub is her pre-lay shed date. So we're about 40 days at the time of filming this from eggs, roughly. So I got to get this incubator online and make sure it's stable and working the way I want it. So what I want to do is I'm going to try a false wall system. And I'll explain all that in a minute. But before I do that, I got some letters to open. I've actually got more than just letters, but I do have a couple up here. Like I said, we're just going to kind of randomly throw them into videos throughout the production. So this one here is from Osmun Reptiles, O-S-M-U-N. Make sure the bag's empty. Alright, cool. From Osmun Reptiles, got a couple stickers. They're kind of neat. It's a cool shape, and that'll fit on the door nicely in some weird spot that doesn't fit a normal sticker. And then obviously a business card here, Michael Osmun. So, sorry, this isn't the most flattering camera angle, but you'll see the room's kind of a mess here in a minute when I turn it around. And then got a cool shirt, Osmun Reptiles. That's neat. It's like it's almost like a gold, or I guess maybe it's actually scales is what we're seeing here, but very subdued. And I like the color. So very cool, man. Appreciate that. And then next one up here is Mother Elfin, maybe? It's hard to read. Got a cool little handwritten note here. It looks like it's from Heather. And we got, yeah, it's Mother Elfin. That's pretty cool. So we'll get one of those up on the door. Thank you. And then this one says Royal Mail on it. So I have no idea where this came from other than across the pond. This one has obviously made a journey. A little note in here as well. Looks like it is from 2020 Royal Morphs. We've got 2 different ones here. This the logo sticker is pretty sweet, and then a little tiny magnet. So that'll definitely go up on the magnet door. Like I said, we have the other door we can put magnets on. So awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Let's get back to this build. Alright guys, so you'll have to excuse the mess. Like I said, the room is in disarray at the moment. I've got a lot of stuff going on, and we are very close to starting this overhaul. But you will remember a video a while back, well over a year ago I'm guessing. I did a video on building an incubator out of a glass front cooler. I'm not going to tell people how to remove or discard or disengage or whatever the compressor stuff. I said that in the video. Not worth the risk. You take that on at your own risk. But effectively you empty it out and you end up with just an empty glass front incubator with heat tape in it. And we used this last season as you see it, but with the shelves in it obviously. And it worked pretty good, with one exception. One of the issues I was noticing is as we got further into the season and we had clutches stacking up, I had like 10 or 11 clutches in here at the same time. And is what I would typically do is, as the clutches would roll in, I would start at the top shelf and I'd put them in down to the bottom. And then as a clutch would hatch and come out and go into the hatchling tubs, I would move all the clutches up. The problem there was, as we got to clutches 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth towards the bottom, by the time that clutch hatched, it had spent more time in the bottom half of the incubator than the top half. And I was seeing a degree, maybe degree and a half, up to 2 degrees at most, difference between the highest point in here and the lowest point. So I think is what was happening is by the time the clutches on the bottom would make it to the top shelf for the last, say, 10 days of incubation period, I would go to cut them at day 56, 57, 58, whatever, but realistically, they were more at maybe like day 50, 48, 50, 52, something like that, because they had spent the first 30 days or whatever at a degree or 2 cooler. So, is what I decided I want to do is, if you look at commercial grade incubators, stuff like Sea Serpent's or a hot box incubator, stuff like that, a lot of them use a false wall. And basically what that means is they put the heat tape against the back like this one has, then they put a wall, a PVC wall in front of it that's spaced out a bit with the circulator fans, and it helps direct air through the system as opposed to it just radiating flat off of here and effectively just going right to the top. I want to do that, but I can't do anything simple. So I built this. All right, again, excuse the mess, but I built this. I'll put some pictures up as I'm talking too, just so you can see the progress along the way. I did not film the most of the building portion of this. A lot of it is because I know people are going to ask me for a build sheet, a cut list, instructions, whatever. I'm not going to do it because every single one of these is going to be different. Every one of them is going to have different dimensions, you're going to want different spacing, you're going to want fans in a different place, you use different size boxes, whatever. So I did not film in the process of building it, but I will film obviously now as I finish putting it together and testing it out. So this whole project started with an idea I had in my head, so I took it to Google SketchUp, where you've seen me use before to build plans, designs, and that for all of my cages and racks and that kind of thing. It's free software, it's super easy to use, it's super intuitive. So basically is what I have designed here is a system where there's all 3 sides. So it's not just a false wall, it's actually going to be a 3-sided false wall insert. The whole thing is going to be slotted into the incubator and create 3 false walls, each with heat tape. So I'm actually going to add 2 more runs of heat tape to it. The thinking being, if I get the heat more evenly around the entire unit, first of all, the heat tape doesn't have to work as hard to keep it at temperature because there's 3 of them working together. And it also gives me more of like an insulation blanket that should help keep things theoretically more even top to bottom. So I did 3 panels, 3 walls, a top, a bottom, and then it's kind of hard to see, but these are effectively just little trim pieces that will go down either side and across the top, so that when you open it, it'll look like it's a solid border that was built into the incubator, and it'll help keep the heat contained behind the wall and therefore out to where the fans are. And speaking of fans, most people have, 1 fan at the top or whatever. The old one was that way. I had 1 fan mounted facing down to push the hot air down. But the problem with doing that is you're fighting convection. You're fighting the natural laws of thermodynamics and heat where it wants to rise. So heat's trying to rise to the top, you're trying to force it back down, it kind of gets stuck in one spot, effectively, is what's happening. I don't need all the scientists to tell me exactly that that's not the case. That it's just a basic DIY snake breeder channel. It's not Bill Nye. So is what I'm doing instead is I got 2 fan spots, top and bottom, and I'm gonna draw air I'm gonna draw air from the main chamber into the back. So this is obviously behind the wall. This would be the back of the incubator. The front would be over here where the door is. I'm gonna draw cold air from the incubator through this top fan. It'll force it down the back wall and pulling air from the side walls at the same time. And then this fan will be blowing into the incubator. So the hot air will naturally be coming in at the lowest point and then rising to meet the fan at the top. The thought process there being, I'm actually helping convection, and by keeping the air moving, albeit very slow. One of the issues that people have is they turn the fans too fast. And the more airspeed you move, the cooler the air gets, believe it or not. And you create a lot of turbulence, and you could have issues with your egg boxes drying out, you know, all kinds of other problems, hot spots, whatever. So you want the fans to turn fairly slow. Luckily, these fans are fairly slow to begin with. They're really super high quality computer fans I had left over. But yeah, so that's basically it. It's just gonna draw from the incubator in through the top, down the back and sides, back in through the bottom, and circulate that way. The other thing you might see on this thing here are all these little like notches right here. Let me show you what those do. All right, so now that the back's done here, first of all, you can see the fans the way they're done. So from there, it's blowing out of the incubator, down the back, and then this one will turn and blow it right back in. Got my fan extensions run. I'll wire all this stuff up later. But you'll see here, there's obviously this notch here, and these notches here, and the top, the lid, so to speak, is not flush. So what that has done is it has made a 1-inch gap between the wall of the incubator and the sides, and between the back wall of the incubator and this back. There is a 1-inch gap on all sides. It also made it so that the back and these sides are interlocking just for more structural integrity, since it's only 3-sided. There's no front, obviously, but that process gives me a fixed 1-inch gap all the way around on all 3 sides to allow the heat and the air in that to move. And then I'm going to apply the heat tape to the actual incubator wall, not to these, and so that it's radiating that direction. It actually works in 2 ways. Not only do you get the air around it, around here, heated that you can move, but it'll actually slowly heat the sides of these pieces of plastic, not to the point where they'll melt or get soft, but they will get warm, and they themselves will radiate heat internally a little bit as well. So once I had all that done and drawn up on the computer and figured out, I went and got a sheet of plastic from James at Big Sky Reptiles and Enclosures and started cutting, and I did everything by hand. This did not come out of the CNC. I wish it would have. It would have been more perfect, but it's pretty good. After that, it had originally some big, thick wire shelves on it, but only had like 3 of them in the old incubator. I used the same side rails that I had originally, but I went down to my local specialty store and bought some more of these clips, and I figured out that I could put 7 or 8, I can't remember, I think it's 8 levels in here. And so all I had to do for that was go down to Lowe's and get one of those 12-foot long closet shelving systems and cut them down into the appropriate pieces. I made a mistake. I was supposed to buy 16-inch shelves, because this incubator is like 17 inches deep front to back, and I bought 12-inch shelves. But you'll see when I get it all assembled, it doesn't really matter. The tubs hang off the end a little bit, but I actually like it. It's a little bit less cluttered and crowded looking. But when you do this, by the way, just a quick tip, if you're going to go this route, because they're lower profile, they're cheap, you can make as many as you want, make sure you buy the ones that have the little tiny lip on the end of them like that, this little round over piece. That keeps them strong enough to hold the tubs when they're full of vermiculite, water, eggs, so on and so forth, from bending. I'll actually put these in with that piece to the back so it's out of my way, but don't forget to do that. Don't buy just the flat wire shelves, they'll bend. So that's where we're at this point. I'm going to go ahead and set the camera up. This will likely be a different day than what you're seeing right now, but that's just how this works. I'm having to do this between nap times and stuff, you know. But let's go ahead and get this installed. The other thing I'm waiting for is the heat tape to come in. I got to finish wiring that in. So like I said, we'll have the 12-inch heat tape full length in the back and on both sides. I got to wire that in parallel so that they all heat evenly out to one plug in the back so that it all comes up on the same thermostat. Once I get the heat tape wired and in, we'll install that insert. I'll show you the trim pieces I made. I'll show you the base I put in, get it all done up. I even made a little nice, you'll see. It's gonna be cool. I'll show you when we're done. But let's get back to work and start installing this. All right, so as I figured, it's a different day, different shirt. You know how it goes. We're gonna finish this up here real quick. The original design had the single strip of 12-inch heat tape across the back. I don't know if it's necessary, but I'm gonna add one to both walls as well. And it's gonna look like this. I'm not a master electrician, so I'm not about to try to explain how to do all this in great detail. But effectively is what I did is made an extension, just a cable lead off the bottom of each 3 panels, and then I combined all of the left side lines together to one side of the power cord and one of the right side lines together to the other side of the power cord, effectively putting these 3 panels in parallel, so all 3 of them will be applied the same amount of voltage, and therefore they will all heat evenly. So now, since all of the construction part is done of the insert, I went ahead and put it all back together, got all the plastic cleaned off and all the extra screws and that I needed. The insert is finished, the fans are in, they work, the heat tape's in. Let's put it together and see if it works. Alright, you guys, well, the room might look a little bit different because in the process of getting this done, obviously I got to deal with my daughter and some other stuff going on in the house. So I just, after that time lapse, I just went ahead and buttoned everything up and cleaned and put everything away. So actually, it should all look a lot nicer now. But we got it done. First of all, I want to say it was a lot of work, but I love the way it looks. And what I mean by that is if you look at, especially from straight on, there's like this black border all the way around, because I'll show you when I open. I made those filler panels so that it would trap the hot air in the back. But I also made these little angles, little tiny triangle pieces that go on these 3 sides to hide the LEDs behind, so that when you look at it head on, you don't see the individual elements independently. So just a little trick I wanted to add. But it's plugged in, it's doing good so far. I've got egg boxes set up exactly the way that I set them for incubating eggs. In this case, 250 grams of vermiculite, 250 to 300 grams of water, mixed really well. The easy hatch trays, and I'm going all press and seal this year just to make it simple. So I've got one here in the top, one in the middle, and one at the very bottom one, all with sensor push. Huge shout out to Sensor Push for monitoring everything for me. All with sensor push sensors in them. These are the new HTP sensors, so they're much more accurate for high humidity situations. That's why they're in the egg boxes. I've got them set to alert me if anything's less than 90% humidity and less than 85 degrees. Between 85 and 90 degrees is where I want it. So I can't really feel, oh, I guess I can actually, yeah, now that it's up to temperature. So I can feel heat on the 2 side walls and on the back. So that does tell me that all 3 sides are working, because I had no way of knowing that. This fan up here is the intake. So it's drawing air from in here into this back chamber, and it's mixing it all up or whatever. And this fan down here, and I can actually feel the hot air coming out of here, is blowing the hot air right between these tubs so that it rises all the way at the middle, and we can kind of help that convection cycle keep going. One thing that you might notice, obviously there's a level for every set of tubs, which I really wanted. I didn't want any stacked tubs, and I actually have more tubs in here than I used to, which is even better. But I went ahead and I zip tied, I don't know if you can see it back there. I put zip ties on the back of each shelf, because I told you I didn't get the 16 inches that I wanted, so when you put a tub in here, it would slide the shelves forward and back, and it was annoying. So that just put them in place. Tubs are easy to get in and out. They clear the edges perfectly. They sit in here nice. So really happy. Like I said, now I've got the ability to hold 16 egg tubs, and I'm gonna let this run for a little while. You can actually feel some of the hot air coming. There's a slight gap up here, which is fine. Above, it shouldn't get a ton of leak up here because this top piece, if you remember, is the size of the inside. So, and then these, like I was saying, are the trim panels that I put all the way down to fill in the gap between the wall and the edge of the incubator. So you have this nice black trim all the way around that kind of seals it all in. So I've got it set at 88.5 currently, like I normally do. It's gonna take a few hours for sure to get equalized, have the thermostat catch up and realize, okay, it's too hot, let's turn the heat down, you know, let everything circulate and get even in that. So I'm gonna watch it for the next probably 3 or 4 hours, and I'll come back to you with a quick screenshot of my phone of the sensors to show you how that looks. Well guys, I've got to say, I don't want to toot my own horn because I'm actually surprised, to be honest with you. I thought this idea was gonna work just from basic thermodynamics understanding, and I mean, you look at some of the major incubator builders, Cornell's World, the hot box incubators, that kind of thing. A lot of them use false walls in that. So I had an idea that this was going to work, but I'm blown away at how well this is working. So I'll show you here on my phone. Like I said, I use Sensor Push for everything. I freaking love those guys. It's been about 4 hours now since that last clip, something like that. And if we let these update, if we scroll down, I'll see if I can show you guys here without the glare. We'll scroll down here to the egg boxes. Egg box middle, top, and bottom. 89, 88.5, 88.8, 98%, 96.4, 94%. And the humidity will fluctuate a little bit as they stabilize with the water and that in them. But that is, as far as I'm concerned, with that thermostat set at 88.5, that's as good as you can get. I have a maximum of 0.5 degrees difference between egg tubs here. And like I said, all 3 of these were made exactly the same. Same amount of vermiculite, same amount of water. They're using the same style sensor. They all 3 have press and seal on top, and they're all the same tub. And so to have a delta of no more than 0.5 degrees Fahrenheit across the board, I'm overjoyed. I'm stoked. I think it looks cooler with the thick border. The lights that's a separate thing. I'm gonna put different lights in here anyway because I don't like these ones. But I like the rack system better, so that I can just literally put the tubs in and out as I need. I'm super excited. But that's it for this week, guys. I really appreciate you sticking with me. Make sure you like and share the video with somebody that you think might need to know how to do something like this. Check out some of our other cool videos. Subscribe before you head out, and I'll see you next week. See ya.